Hi there. We're going to be talking about strings, which is a particular type of variable type, data type that the Python can store. And whenever we say strings, what we're talking about is text. Now I'm going to be using for this the notes that are available to you on the page. And so I'm kind of just going to be going through this maybe with some different examples. But for the most part, this is an audio collection of these notes for those of you who like to listen and kind of see some examples. So I'm going to go over to idle and make a new file. I don't even know what was on there. And the basic idea here is that, some special things happen whenever we deal with text. So let's just say that we have a movie. So we have a variable called movie, and it has a value. So of course, we can just print that and it will happen, the Dark Knight will show up. But the way that strings work, there's something going on inside of them that makes it a little interesting, and that is that you can access each character separately. In fact, a string, the whole reason it's called a string is because it's stringing together characters. And that's what they decided to call, text, is that it's characters joined together. And because of that, you can reference any piece of the string by putting in this bracket 0 here. Well, not, sorry. You can reference any piece of the string by putting in brackets. The first number, so the t in this case, is 0. So when I run this, we'll call it something cool. See, the T comes out, right? So it's the capital T because that is the first character. So first of all, note that the 0 refers to the first one, and the computers like to start counting at 0 instead of start counting at 1. So let's just say I want the fifth character. Let's see if we can predict what that is. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this A should be the fifth character. Yay, I got it right. And but then more than just that is that you can actually refer to sections of it at a time. So let's just say I want to get the word the out of the Dark Knight. I can say show me 0 through, and let's just take a look. It'd be 0, 1, 2, right? So you would think that I could say 0, 1, 2. Now maybe I just gave you a hint because I said you think that that would work. I get just the TH. And this leads us to the second problem. So the first problem is remembering that computers start with 0. The second problem, and this is a uniquely Python thing from other languages that I've used, this doesn't happen, but when you eat the last number in a range, and we're going to deal with ranges and other topics, but the last number in a range in Python is always actually where it stops. In other words, it never gets to the number 2. It stops before it reaches the number 2. 2 is the stopping point. So it says 0, 1, okay, stop here. And it doesn't actually show it, it stops before it shows it. So, in other words, you just have to increase this one by 1. So it's kind of like you're starting this one before you think you might have to, and then you're ending it 1 after you think you might have to, in order to get the word the. So, there we go, the. One way to remember this one is it's like how many characters would you like to see, right? Because it's like I would like to see 3 characters. That's not completely accurate because I could say I want to see the middle section here. So let's just count real quick. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I want the dark, I can say start at 4, and then I want to go through all the way through here. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want it to go to the 8th one, so it stops on 8 and it gets us the full K. Dark. There we go. So these are called splices or substrings or splices of the string. So that's how you could do that. And yeah, so it's really interesting because you can kind of splice it up. I've also seen, I've never tried this myself. I'm just going to quick run it. Dark Knight. Okay, so you see how like it doesn't tell it the ending, so it goes from starts here and then it just goes to the end. Or I could say something like this, and it will go start at the beginning and then go to the eighth place. So that's one thing that you can do with strings that is certainly not obvious. The other thing is called string methods, and what string methods are is they are built-in functions that strings have. So let's just say you want to make the Dark Knight all caps, so you can like yell the Dark Knight. What you can do is you can say movie period, and then this is now a function built into the string, which is why this period is here. It's kind of like a hidden piece of it. And so what this does is it can take movie, run the function upper, and then save it into capitals. So then I could print capitals. And of course, you could guess what this is because I use the word capitals and upper, so maybe you'll guess it capitalizes it, right? Some people, instead of making it into a new string, right, this is, or a new variable, this is like saving a variable called capitals, and then there's a variable called movie. You can also just say, hey, I want movie to equal itself, but capitalized. That permanently changes movie, so now movie will always be capitalized. Um, Sometimes you want to do that, sometimes you want to save it as something else. So that's just up to you and what you're trying to achieve there. In fact, you could just save a whole step here, and you could just say, hey, I want to print the movie capitalized, right? So that works as well. So just remember that there's like, depending on what you're trying to do, if you want to save it, give it a new name. If you just want to print it and see it, you don't have to really give it a name. You can guess what this one does. Oh, I should print movie. Oops. Lower. Sometimes I like to put spaces inside my parentheses so that I can see what it is I'm doing a little easier. But remember, these are like optional here on the sides. So there it is, lowercase. So those are two pretty obvious ones. Here's one that's not quite as obvious. Let me see. I'm going to run this one a little bit differently. So let's just say that we ask somebody, what is your favorite food? And when we run this, what is my... Oh, well, I never even printed it. Sorry. I guess I should print it. My favorite food is food. Okay, this will be a good example of what I want to show you. So what is my favorite food? And a lot of people I've been finding, because this question mark is right here, or whatever you put right here, they kind of get nervous about typing right next to it when they want to say grapes like that. And instead what they do is they put a space, and then they put grapes. And then when it prints out, you've got this extra space here because I've put a space inside of it. So I used to think, well, we have to figure out a way to maybe put a space in our input so they don't do that. But there is another way to do that too. We could take food and we could say food dot, and then there's a function. So let's look at our notes. String methods, upper and lower we did. A function called strip, which can take out spaces before and after inside a string, so that if somebody just puts some spaces in there, so we strip it. And now what we're doing this time, of course, is we're overriding the old food. So this food has a space in it, but this one will be guaranteed to not have any extra spaces in it. And that can be handy because what if somebody types something with like a whole bunch of spaces here, and then we do an if statement, and the if statement is like if they typed yes or no, and they did type yes, but they put a bunch of spaces in it, right? And then it will think that it was wrong because of all these spaces. And so maybe stripping out all the spaces before we read them would be a great thing to do. So here I put tons of spaces, but there are no extra spaces because I ran the strip function. So there's how to do a strip. I find this one is really handy. Again, I'm going to just put it in a variable, though you could do it different ways. And this one's not a period with the function. This one's just a function by itself, but it's called len or length, and it finds how many characters are in a particular string. So if I say that and then I print the length, it will tell me, how many characters are in the Dark Knight. Oh man, my bad. All right, 15 characters in the Dark Knight. Now, one thing that's interesting about that is I like to use that because then I like to say, okay, I want to print the last character of movies. So I'm going to go up here to this substring idea for a minute. And I want to say, okay, I want to print movies 15 because it just told me that that was the last character. And when I run it, grapes, I get an error. Movies is not, oh, I was going to get an error, but not because I typed an S at the end of movie, right? I am going to get an error though, so let's do it again. My favorite food is 15. Okay, there's 15 string out of range. So it says here, you tried to print movie 15, but that's out of range. There is no 15. And I'm saying, yeah, but you just told me there's 15 characters. Why is that? Well, maybe you're guessing. Because we start with 0, the computer counts this. There are 15 of them, but the computer counts them as 0 through 14, which means it can't print the 15th one, right? But watch this. What if I say, okay, well, show me what length minus 1 is? So there's length will come in as 15. It'll subtract 1, and it will show me the last character. So length minus 1 is actually the last character. And I find that really cool because you can do some neat things with that, being able to get to the last character or something. So there it is, the T on the Dark Knight. Okay, so that's length. Another one is that you can find things and that you can replace things. So let's do replace first. It might seem strange to do replace before we do find, but replace kind of finds things automatically anyway. So let's just say that silly movie, equals movie replace, and then in parentheses we put the thing that we want to replace. So we're going to take any capital D's, and we're going to replace them with capital B's instead. And then we're going to print silly. I'm going to go ahead and take out this one so we don't keep on getting that to ask us things every single time. So, and here we have it, the Bark Knight. Oh yeah, that's good, right? So I found the D and it replaced it. Now, is there any letters that show up more than once? Okay, the T, because it's capital, doesn't really show up twice. The H and T, and the and in night. Both of them are. What am I doing? Okay, I want to go to here. So I could say, replace the H with a O, and this time it will say toe dark night got, right? So it does it both. So if it finds more than one, it will place them everywhere. You can do more than one letter as well. So you can say, replace night with the dark, what should we say? Giraffe, right? And then that would say, okay, we'll find the word night, replace it with giraffe. I won't even bother running it right now because we'll say the dark giraffe, right? So that's what replace does. That's pretty awesome. You can have a lot of fun with that. And then the other one is find. Now find works, well, it's the same idea. So let's just say we print movie.find, and we tell it to find the D in movie. Oops, needs that. So it goes, and basically what is unexpected about find is it gives us a number. And the number is, hey, this is the fourth character, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like at position 4. So we can then use that if we want to. Okay, we know the fourth one. Now, what if we search for a character that's not in there? The dark giraffe, -1. Okay, so it doesn't find the letter Z, so it returns a -1. So we can use that. We can say if movie find Z equals a -1, then we can print not found. So imagine that you have somebody do a I don't know, you can't really do a word search, but you can imagine searching for some big long thing, and you're trying to find and see if a particular person's name is in it or something like that. And here we could do where it's not found. And if it is found, so we can just do an else, well, then we could say, found. Another way to say this is, hey, if it's greater or equal to 0, then it's found, right? So as long as it finds anything other than a -1, we know it's found. And then if it's not found, it would be not -1. So you could do it either way. You could do the found in the if, or you could do the not found in the if. But I do wrong. Too many parentheses. Oh, goodness. Those will be the death of me. I shouldn't have learned Python 2. I should have only learned Python 3. There it is. Not found. It didn't find the Z. So we can give it that message. All right, so let's take a quick look at... Oh, there's another one I was working on. Let's take a quick look at this and see if I've covered everything. We know how to do uppercase and lowercase. We know how to do the length of something or how to strip stuff. We know how to do replace and find. Now I notice up here I did forget one thing here. So the last notes I'll do is these two examples. And then we'll be done. Let's just take... I'm going to erase all this for a minute. And so we want to take The Dark Knight, and then we want to mash it up with another movie, which is, well, Avengers Endgame. And then we want to put these two things together, right? So I can, of course, print movie plus movie 2. And I get something like, I didn't put parentheses around it because I'm dumb. Okay, The Dark Knight, Avengers Endgame, right? So it added them together. It's like, okay, you want to add strings together? I'm just going to put them together. That's called concatenation, which I think is a great word. That's the only reason I care to say it. You just have to know it's called adding strings together. I could add even more to it. I could add a space. Or I could say, you know what, I only want to add a little bit of this one. So I want to make it, say, The Dark Knight Endgame. So I'm going to take out Avengers. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I want 8 and on. And now I don't want the space anymore. And it's going to take The Dark Knight, and then it's going to take the colon and go to the end. So we should get The Dark Knight Endgame, which would be a great movie. Yeah, there we go. So you can do lots of things by adding things together. And then the last thing you can do, I don't know why you'd really ever use this, but I just find it interesting that you can do it, is that you can actually multiply a string. So This is going to be way too much, but if you want to, you can tell it to see a string 5 times. So there it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can kind of add them together quickly through multiplication, right? All right, somebody's going to want to do this, so we might as well do it. Oh, I'm freezing up my computer. Excuse me, I just drank on microphone. That's going to sound strange. Well, I would like to say, okay, I'm going to quit it. Oh no, there we go. 5,000 of them. All right, just when I was about to stop. Still having problems, but there's strings for you. Um, we've done all the things in here, and that's really what you need to know in order to get this badge. Take care.